Today's video is all about HootChain, unlocking your DeFi journey with HootChain. Guys, today we're going to be doing a deep dive looking into this project. We're going to look into some of the details, such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, figuring out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio for the next leg up in this bull run. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. And the question is HootChain an opportunity? Guys, today we're going to be doing a deep dive. We're going to be doing a bit of research into HootChain, trying to figure out whether it should make it to our portfolio. Of course, we're going to be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly, being very, very critical, and of course, bringing up all the details that we need to get fundamentally bullish. We're going to be using the website as our main platform to navigate the project. We're going to be looking at that white papers. We're going to get the overall sentiment of this project by, scouring some of the details that the team has provided to us via these outlets. It's very, very important that teams nowadays, especially new teams, really understand the critical responsibility they have to really provide the details to the retail market. The retail market coming into this space want to know exactly what these projects are about. They shouldn't have a computer science degree. They shouldn't have to scrape through the internet, including blog posts and X posts and all kinds of social media, just to get the information they need to get fundamentally bullish. No resistance, no red tape, no friction whatsoever. Let's get the info out there. Let's see if this project has what it takes. All right, guys, so let's begin. We do see a couple of interesting things here. The small paragraph below: experience the future of DeFi along with the hybrid proof of work, proof of stake model. So this is a common hybrid model, like this model of having proof of work and proof of stake, having the nodes, of course, to secure the network and increase the speed, and the proof of work to have that decentralized feel like Bitcoin has. We have fostering decentralized governance through a DAO. Guys, that's spot on. You guys know how I appreciate DAO implementations, particularly with projects that may have a few VCs involved, and this is not the case, of course, here with HootChain. We'll talk about all of that in a second, but I do appreciate even the fact that they emphasize decentralization and empowering the community that get involved with HootChain by allowing them to vote and become part of the governance of the project. Guys, that's super good. Empowering innovation where privacy is paramount and security is uncompromised. So we have an emphasis on security and privacy, both narratives, both concepts that in today's environment are very, very sought after. All right, let's begin. I do have this get started page open already, so I'll get that tab open in a second. Download a wallet. So they have a wallet ready to go. That's really interesting, very necessary. You can apply this white paper, of course. We have that open as well. We can take a look, and they have some relationships here already, okay, which is pretty good, guys. You know how critical I am about logos and all of that. There is no emphasis on them being partners with exchanges and all that, which is really, really good, because we're not here to deceive anybody. The reality is, if you're listed on CoinGecko, that is a great relationship, but it's not a partnership, right? So with Coin Paprika, they're available there for charts and all of that. We're going to be using the chart on Coin Paprika today. Of course, Live Coin Watch is another one, and they're on this exchange. I'm not even going to attempt to try to pronounce that. I'm not even sure how that is pronounced, but they're on an exchange, and at least you get some liquidity there on a centralized exchange. And this is what we're looking for, is relationships, and so far this is pretty standard. Now, what I'm going to really do is emphasize another thing, which I should have emphasized at the beginning of this video. Guys, this project is very small. Okay, we're talking about an under $1 million market cap, which means it's considered a micro cap to an extreme degree. This thing is right now lifting off the ground. So we got to have a bit of a context here as to, what we see on this website and where they have, what they have achieved in the last little while, and what they are looking to tackle in the next little while has to be put with a different lens, a lens of, a novelty. It's new right now. It's very, very, very new, and they're up and coming, of course. We're trying to critique whether they have the potential to basically, make a name for themselves and make it to the top level, with other, layer ones, because this is a layer one. We'll talk about the tech in a second, but you get what I mean. We just need to have that lens, guys, okay? Because this is the smallest market cap project that I've ever reviewed or I've done a deep dive on a video on. So this is something new to me as well. Unique advantages: fast transactions, lower fees. How is this possible? How is the proof of work and proof of stake model, basically arranged and created? Privacy centric, okay, we're going to talk about, and decentralized governance, good stuff. Hoot is the ticker. Okay, good stuff. Potential, and we're going to be talking about tokenomics. We'll be talking about the utility, not just the utility of HootChain as a technology, but the utility of a coin, of the Hoot coin. Holders shape our ecosystem via DAO mechanisms, driving transparency and innovation together. Good sense of community there. Future innovations: launching staking platform, powerful mining solutions, and hybrid, which we talked about this already. Now, what's in the hybrid exchange and DEX is something that it is in their ecosystem currently. They're currently working on this. This is their main objective at the current moment. It's a layer one. So what I want to also do is untangle some of the ambiguity here, okay? So because it is a layer one, we have to be clear on that. It is a layer one, and then we start to ask what kind of applications are built on the layer one. And their first application is going to be a centralized exchange DEX, basically an exchange that's a hybrid. Okay, so which it's a bit confusing because we have a HootChain, which is the chain itself. Then we have an exchange, which they're working on. They don't have a name for it yet. They don't have much clarity as to its marketing and so on and so forth. But this is what they're spearheading, going in forward. So it's interesting having that hybrid, and there's obviously benefits for that hybrid. The HootChain mission, I think what they're trying to go for here is, this is what I see from the website, is that their chain is going to be tailored toward the DeFi sector, which we're noticing this. We're seeing modular programming. We're seeing projects or layer one specialize in particular narratives so they can tweak their layer one or their blockchain to be specifically tailored to the use case that it focuses on, in this case DeFi, so the DEX and the centralized exchange narrative and that hybrid. So it's pretty good. So as they're building an ecosystem wrapped around this DeFi sector, they have their own chain that is going to be specialized for this narrative, and I appreciate that. That's definitely good. Instead of being a jack of all trades and not hitting the mark on so many different applications, in this case this chain is focusing on one use case or one value proposition, which is good. Their commitment is to construct a community focused on platform. We hope uphold values of transparency, security, and innovation, and join them. Of course, a lot of good speak there. Now, this is an interesting concept here: funds distribution. HootChain has decided to the dev fee wallet that received 5% from every block. This is a bit confusing, but I'll kind of I'll kind of clarify that. The funds required for development, exchange, listing, and marketing, and paying expenses of the project are taken from this wallet address. So they got some wallet addresses where they're going to be getting these funds from to basically get the project up on its feet and get going, right? So what we really have to understand is there is an incentive for the devs. There is an incentive for the DAO. Okay, so this is very important. It's a 5% allocation for every block, which means that this 5% goes to the development and the team. And we have to also understand that this within this 5%, there's this 2.5% also that gets allocated to the DAO, which can be used for various, aspects such as development, and the DAO votes on the different developments that they want to, implement. And we'll talk about the DAO in a second, because it has a very interesting mechanism. It's almost like a burn mechanism, and it really, the team at HootChain doesn't really get into details as to how valuable that somewhat of a burn mechanism could be, not only it being deflationary and a deflationary aspect, but you can kind of like counterbalance or even cause a real deflationary mechanism where more tokens get basically taken out of circulation over time, which I feel is undervalued. It's an undervalued thing. So this chart, to be honest, needs a little bit of clarity here. because you can see that 25% development, 15% goes to the exchange listings, which we know we need liquidity, 40% goes to team and expenses, and 20% go to marketing. Now, out of all these percentages, I'm assuming what they're saying is HootChain has a dedicated dev fee wallet that receives 5% from every block. Is this 5% going towards this, after a while? And for me, that's not what I get from some of the technicals, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go on to the roadmap, because we got a documentation that we can go through. The project roadmap, this is decent. We got a lot of information. You can see their next steps. They've already tackled quite a bit. Social media getting going, and I'll be glad to say that their social media is being worked on. It's chipping it away. It's definitely small. They don't have much going yet, but they're a small project. And if we're going to be waiting for them to have a massive community, guys, it's not going to be where it is right now. Its market cap is going to be much higher. So what we really have to do is also get into speculation mode. Okay, we got to think, if does this have the opportunity to get where it wants to get, and if it does, then what's the market cap going to be, right? So we got to understand that, and you can see that based on the Telegram wallet. They got a wallet for Telegram. In my opinion, I don't like anything to do with Telegram, not because I don't like Telegram, but I don't like the vulnerabilities there. Putting wallets on Telegram on a third-party centralized or application like that. I would prefer a decentralized or a HootChain developed wallet. That would be good somehow, or whatever the case is, but nothing to do with Telegram, in my opinion, is safe enough for me. Okay, we got on exchanges, the X11 coins, merge mining. This is important because then means that any mining rig or any mining efforts that you may have can be mined on basically for any other X11 algorithm based coin, which is really important. And if you guys know the infrastructure of Bitcoin, and it's an X11 and all that, this is very important, this X11. We'll get back to X11 and other aspects of the tech stack. Node Forest beta, that's good. We got some nodes going for their node structure that they got, and then they're focusing completely on marketing. That's their next phase, which is important, guys. We got to get a lot of the ears and eyes open to what HootChain is all about, and this is going to be the biggest challenge, in my opinion, for them to actually pick up momentum, is the marketing. Because not only does it take a lot of effort, but it's very, very expensive. Okay, so this is what we have to understand, is that new projects struggle getting the word out there and really making their mark because of the lack of funding. Now, this is the difference between a project that is fair launch, and I would say HootChain for the most part can be classified as a fair launch. Okay, and we'll talk about all of this in more details in a second, right? So it could be classified as fair launch. There's no VCs, there's no main contributors that are looking to hold a lot of tokens and they're going to be dumping on the market. There's none of that, and that's the benefit you get from having a VC, is that you have a lot of liquidity and you can get easily obtain funds for marketing and exchange listings and all of that. But then you have the risk of dilution of these individuals that are basically getting in early with at lower prices, and they hold a lot of tokens. And as they get their token unlocks, they basically dump on the market. HootChain does not have that risk. So that's a very important thing. We're getting in at the ground level, seeing HootChain, in fact, coming up from the ground level and seeing that it's doing everything it can to reduce risk for current and future stakeholders, which is very, very important. I kind of appreciate this. Now, if we're going to improve this roadmap, the only thing that I could say would be nice to see timing. Now, does it have to be accurate? Maybe quarterly timing. Just give us an idea of what we're going and why, in what time frame, and where your efforts going to be placed in the next little while. Now, again, it's a new, small, young team. We got to understand that putting your name on beside some dates is quite risky, because if you don't meet the deadline, I know how the markets could move, but that's because a lot of people don't understand development, right? Development is tough to put timing on. Things don't happen overnight. They take time. Engineering takes time, grinding away, fixing issues, this and that, and you want it to be perfect. So I understand the anxiety behind putting an actual date to keep accountability, but that's the name of the game. But at least they give you an idea of where they want to go for the future. Feel free to check that out, because that's much more than I've seen even in some well-developed projects, no doubt. So good stuff. Check them out on the socials. They got Telegram. I've been on their Discord. You can get in direct communication with team members, the dev, and so on. Marketing manager. They're small enough that you can get engaged with the founding team, and that's very, very important to create that connection with from the ground level, grassroots marketing for sure, 100%. They're also on X, giving a lot of posts and updates along the way as they're progressing. So good stuff. Now what we want to do is understand a little bit more about the tech, and I think that's very viable. So there's this HootChain docs that you can get a hold of on the website, and I think that's really good. If you want to go into the About Us page, we'll talk a bit about the team. Unfortunately, they are not doxed at the current moment, which, for a young team, it's a bit going against them not being doxed. It would be ideal for them to be doxed, because you're asking individuals to take risk, especially that you don't have much of a foundation, right? And that way, individuals looking to get in they're questioning about who's behind the project. Now, I also understand the value of not being doxed, because this is a an industry where accountability does matter, and accountability in the wild west becomes very risky as well. So I get it. I totally get it, but it would be to their advantage to be fully doxed. Okay, so in this case, who's the dev? What experience does they have? We don't need to know, much, personal information, but at least their history as far as where they've worked and maybe what development experience they may have. LinkedIn accounts are always useful, guys, and it's almost standard in all my deep dives that I look for LinkedIn accounts. So again, this is probably definitely a negative, but this is where we're at. We got to understand these choices are critical for teams, and I understand both sides of the coin, but let's move on. Their mission, HootCoin, is a culmination of dedication of expertise and a passionate team. Again, we would love to confirm all of that by showing some, but there's a lot of information. Why transactions underpinned by unparalleled security measures. Again, that security, that transparency, that trust, that you can trust a decentralized contract, a decentralized platform with a smart contract and DeFi and all of that. Holding Hoot grants you more than just investor status. It welcomes you into a community. Okay, that's always great. Breaking down barriers, empowering individuals to manage the future via the DAO, of course, through a decentralized autonomous organization. You can provide individuals voting, privileges, and then they can get into the governance of the project, which is very good and transparent and all of that. So this is good. Feel free to read a little bit more, and let's jump right into the tokenomics. I think that's the most important. So there's a max supply, 9.95 million Hoot, and what's very important is that we understand that there's going to be rewards, obviously, and it's going to be deflationary, very similar to, let's call it, Bitcoin. After a while, the amount of rewards that enter the market, they come down and down and down into the point that there's rewards or emissions are going to be reduced significantly. They're very similar to what Bitcoin offers. The rewards are going to be 5 Hoots per block. Okay, block frequency, 60 seconds, master node collateral. So in order for you to become a node holder for the proof of stake algorithm, proof of stake consensus mechanism, you need to be to basically own a master node, and you need to be able to stake 3,000 Hoot coins, and that will secure the network. It will help, you will provide liquidity and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we know the value of nodes. They provide speed and extra security for the network. So good stuff. Block rewards will be divided as follows. Miners and master node holders need to get rewarded. Development fees, this goes towards the team. And then super block rewards, we're talking about 2.5% for super block rewards. Now, if you go back to the website, this is what kind of like this is for the team. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, and if it is for the team, I can see it's a dev wallet. We are assuming through a faith-based system that they will be using that capital for these categories. Okay, and you guys know I don't appreciate faith-based systems. Okay, so let's assume that we're going to take their word for it, but ultimately these funds, this 5%, can be used in whichever way they feel. Okay, let's be real about that. Okay, so transparency is key. Now, where I do feel where the magic happens is the super block rewards, because in my opinion, if that was the case, then why not put all of this into super block rewards and make the DAO vote for how the assets get allocated? keeping true decentralization. If it's for the devs and for the team, then it's for the devs and the team, and they can use it to pay their rent and pay themselves, and that's fine as well. But we got to be very clear about what this means, okay? Because that team and expenses, 40% of it makes sense. Then why not put the rest of it into the DAO? And that would be a little bit more decentralized. And of course, it causes more resistance for liquidity. If the team wants to go and invest in some sort of marketing, they got to pass it through the team. I get it. It's a lot slower that way to get everybody voted up and agreeing. But I guess that's the way it is. So keep in mind that's the case there. Okay. So what is a super block reward? So after a certain many blocks, what happens is a certain amount of tokens get put into a wallet. Okay, and let's look at what the super blocks do, because I think that's very interesting. Let's see if this loads fast enough. There you go. It's a special type of block generated, okay, on the blockchain network every 68,400 blocks. So approximately every 2 months, you're going to get these extra rewards that get allocated into a super block funding mechanism. And this funding, this wallet, or this account, let's put it that way, is basically governed by the DAO. Okay, so in the DAO, you put some sort of suggestion, community of proposal, and then they vote on this proposal. If the proposal gets, let's say, agreed upon by the community, and they all vote yes, that particular proposal will get rewarded, or get the certain portion of tokens or coins that they're looking for, and it will be deposited into the particular address provided. So basically, you vote, and the 2.5% that gets allocated after a certain amount of blocks essentially is a funding. It's basically funding for any community visions that the community may have, any vision or projects, or things that they may want to introduce. They have some funding available. All they have to do is propose it and vote on it. What's more interesting to me, which was brought to my attention by the team, is that if the proposal does not go through, and basically the majority does not vote yes, what happens with those tokens? They get burnt. Basically, they get taken out of circulation. So strategically, the community can say, well, you know what? Let's not vote yes, so we can burn it and basically take some tokens out of circulation. That's what I took from it. Okay, and I know it's not very clear here. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But for me, the way I read, it's not very clear, and it would be really nice to have that clarity, because it definitely acts like a slight burning mechanism, which we know is even more so that basically inflationary mechanism that a lot of people appreciate, is that burning. The word burning itself, as soon as you see that word burning, people get excited, because you guarantee even more inflationary restrictions, and that's basically what we want to see. So pretty good here. Not bad. Lots of good clarity here. Now, there was one thing that I really wanted to bring about, which is this. Okay, you might see this in the future, and I spoke to the team about it, and we talked about how important it would be, even though it's a very small amount, is very important for that transparency, and they agreed, and I'm glad that they were able to add this in the last few hours. HootChain takes a controlled approach to coin creation. So basically, new HOOT coins enter in circulation through a fixed emission schedule. At launch, we start off at 0, and not quite, but sure. Okay, we'll talk about that. It's not it's not a negative. It's just about reality. And all of a sudden, this slowly goes up to the point that after 12 years, they're basically, it's fully diluted. All the coins are in circulation. Very easy, clear cut, and over time, it kind of flatlines, similar to Bitcoin. Now, they had a pre-mine, right? So the pre-mine was not much. It only represented literally 0.3% of the total supply, which is so important. It's only 30,000 HOOT coins. They got them at a reduced rate, or at a rate of which it was, I think, 25 cents, which means it's a lot cheaper than it is right now, but it's only a small amount. Now, of course, we have to understand, if you're going to classify yourself as fair launch, you're not doing any of this. However, This was their way to raise a bit of capital, guys, and it wasn't much. It came out to about 7,000 and change, guys. It wasn't a lot of capital. They just needed to get marketing going as a small project. This goes a long way, of course, and that was their way to basically reward early community members, and that's how they were able to get this going. They sold them to community members that were on their Discord, and all of that is very clear and transparent on the Discord. All that communication, the whole pre-mine sale was all there and open and transparent, which is very good. And again, I'm just going to emphasize, it's a very small portion. So at least we got transparency. We know it's somewhat of a fair launch because they gave the community the opportunity to get in. It's not like they got a VC in and said, here's a certain amount of tokens. It's not the case. So we can say it's fairly fair here. Okay, so supply mined per quarter, you can see over time the amount of coins being mined or go down up to a point where it flatlines. This is very similar to Bitcoin. Now, what we have to understand is that the technology, the tech stack is quite interesting. Okay, and I'm hoping that this tab right here might give that what we need, because technically it is like a fork of Bitcoin, but it's not, because it's a fork of Dash. You know, and that's very important because we have, I'm trying to see where the actual documentation here is. Hoot perfect real transaction, imagine sending over cash. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just kind of scraping through this. Locking mechanism, it might be 6 confirmations, of course. That's the main net. I'm trying to enhance security, fast lock. Okay, so basically they have the Dash network. Okay, so and that's where the master nodes come in. It's, if it wasn't for the master nodes, it wouldn't be a Dash structure. We have to understand that Dash basically enhances Bitcoin's functionality. Okay, it introduces speed, lower transactions. And the speed is quite important here because you have instant transactions with the Dash network. The Dash network offers their proprietary instant transaction function, instant send function, that basically makes the transactions a lot faster. And that's one of the downfalls of Bitcoin. Even though, you know, we're talking about an X11 algorithm, we want the nodes in order to improve the speed, and they achieved that using Dash. So long living master node quorums originally by Dash developers, significant improvement into send efficiency. So just to be clear, they don't have the function enabled at the current moment, and this is very consistent across many new forks of Dash, is that you need a certain amount of nodes in order to turn that feature on. But it is ready to be turned on as soon as they get the nodes going. Remember, the project is super young, so we're into speculation now. Once that happens, the speed will increase and this thing will start flying. Right, so that's what we're banking on. A recent upgrade replaced the older messaging system with more secure, deterministic one known as the DIP22. So a good tech there with the InstaSend and so on and so forth. So they're keeping it decentralized as much as possible, getting the community involved through the master nodes. They even have shared nodes that they're working on with third parties, and getting these shared nodes where you can provide liquidity to a particular node and participate if you cannot afford a node of your own. And that of course reduces that red tape, that restrictions for everybody to get involved, right? Of course, obviously being a miner as well is another way you can get involved. So these are all great stuff. These are very important technical aspects that I would definitely encourage everyone to kind of do a bit of research on. They have the chain locks, of course, preventing 51% attacks. That's important. And again, more technicalities, and the DAO governance, which gets me very interested. If you're a master node holder, you can vote. So this is the thing, and I'm wondering how they're going to do it with the shared nodes, and how that will basically come into play. But I'm curious. Again, they got a lot of work to do, and I'm glad to hear that the team realizes that they got a lot of work to do. Okay, and they give you setup master node, how to do it, how to set it up, and overall, it's quite clear, guys. We got a clear tokenomics, clear vesting. There's no vesting schedule because literally it's all in rewards. The 99.99% of them are all in rewards. And of course, the emissions for the team is very clear and upfront. So pretty good stuff there. Now, if you're looking for a bit of detail as far as their their vision and why and what problem they identified and the problem they are trying to solve. And again, there's a lot, you know, they're talking about Dash, to secure the Dash, the HootChain provider speed and security. You can go see why they chose Dash. You can go see what problem and solutions they're providing to the problem. This is all very important, because really what they're focusing on lately in their current output, in their roadmap, is to get that decentralized, centralized exchange hybrid. And again, this is where their focus is on, right? So they're providing the KYC option, and I spoke to them about KYC because you guys know that I don't appreciate KYC exchanges, but they are committing that unless they are absolutely required by law, they're not going to do KYC, but they're also going to have the DEX aspect of things, because it's a hybrid. So I'm curious as how they're going to marry up those two very unique value propositions. Basically, the KYC, know your customer value proposition that people, you know, are okay with, and some people are not. But then having the DEX that, you know, majority of people that use DEXs don't want KYC. And the fact is that if they're a hybrid, you know, how does that, you know, what kind of implications are we going to get on the DEX know your customer narrative? And that I hope that there's not going to be any overlap there, because a DEX should be no KYC. And we should be fighting for that. And that's where I'm kind of keeping myself a little bit on the fence here on how this hybrid model will work. Of course, I'll keep in contact with the team. I encourage you guys to join the Discord, their Discord, and ask a lot of questions, because they're willing to answer all kinds of questions, take the time, which is really, really bullish. And if you're looking into their proof of work and mining and proof of stake, there's this document here. It's all on their website. You get a lot of good information there, and their hybrid and why it's a good, the cons, and obviously they go realize the issues, and the X11 mining algorithm, security, efficient, and accessibility, which we know is a tried and true algorithm. And then, you know, with that layer of Dash, it makes things a lot better, of course, and the proof of stake and all of this kind of stuff. So good stuff. Overall, I am pleased to see that they provided enough information for us to get fundamentally bullish. Now, socials. If we go into the socials, you'll see that they're very young. They got only 1,100 and change followers. Very, very young. They joined in April 2024. Again, very young. They got, you know, drum roll please, they got new relationships, and they're celebrating all their little new relationships, which are great. Nodes Forest, they're getting those nodes so we can get some nodes happening for people to participate in and lock some liquidity up. HootChain is on fire. We've seen a nice pump on Hoot in the last couple hours. It's been cranking. It went up to about 220, reached all-time highs, and I think it's in price discovery at the moment, so it's doing pretty good. We'll talk about the charts in a second, and you can see they do celebrate a lot about this, and they did post this official with tons of new information. I agree, but even still, I think this needs to be reworded and kind of being you know, up to standard with regards to how it should be you know, communicated. A bit confusing, a bit deceiving, but I don't think that's the intent. I think it's just a matter of ironing things out. Let's move on. I think this is great. Get you know, go on their X and follow. They got a lot of good announcements, and again, they're very young, so they're really trying their best. Now, you guys know that I do release you know, all kinds of information to you guys on a weekly basis, including the infographic. So let's take a look at this infographic just to summarize. Okay, it's an interesting layer one. It's a layer one. It uses the X11 algorithm. It is a Dash fork, which is interesting. It does proof of work. It does proof of stake. Its current project that it's working on is a hybrid DEX centralized exchange hybrid. It's in the works. It's coming out soon, and you can see that based on my ecosystem rating, guys. The ecosystem barely exists. We got to be real about that. We're still in speculation. This is not even out yet. And one of my concerns is that it is a layer one with no applications, right? So there's no ecosystem. So what's the true utility of the token? There is none, right? Right now, the only utility that you have of the token is to hold it and hope that the ecosystem grows. And this is where I'm repeating, it's speculation, risk to reward, right? That's very important. So let's continue. Utility. The token is spot on. The token utility is perfect. Rewards, mining, nodes, everything. If you want to mine, you get rewarded. If you want to be a node holder, you're going to get rewarded. You use it for collateral. Node holders need a few thousand hoots to get involved and stake them up in there. And then governance, if you want to vote, obviously there's a relationship between the master node holder and being able to be part of the governance, the DAO essentially. And obviously the token is meant to drive the network. As more projects enter the system, into the ecosystem, they're going to be using HOOT tokens to drive the network, to transact and use them as a medium of exchange. So perfect. Like at this stage, they got all the framework necessary to start focusing on ecosystem growth. The only thing holding it back is that they don't have anything yet. Again, are we going to wait for them to get 10 out of 10? Because I'm telling you, when the layer 1 eventually gets a fat ecosystem, a really big one, 10 out of 10 ecosystem, you're not talking about a market cap of which I'm going to show you in a second what kind of market cap Hoot has. And it's a very small one. Let's put it that it's under $1 million market cap, under $1 million market cap, guys. So this is what we're in, pretty much in a speculative state. Utility, we talked about it really good. The roadmap, focus on marketing is the next step. We know that's a big challenge. It costs a lot of money, a lot of effort, and collaborating with people online and influencers and YouTube channels and all of that is the way it has to be done. And by the way, this is not a sponsored video. They joined the Discord and they voted on the deep dive, and they wanted me to do a deep dive, and the community voted. So here it is. And ultimately, it's so far so good because they are looking for their next step in marketing, integrating with other maybe layer 1s and being involved with other layer 1s like Ethereum. They have some focus on Ethereum coming up. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be working on because it's still in very speculation, but they have their mindset on working with Ethereum. And you guys know that I'm bullish on Ethereum. I like what Ethereum has to offer. So that could be a really good catalyst for the next leg, right? Roadmap would be would benefit by having some timeline. Putting time is difficult. I get it, especially with a new project with a very small team with a limited budget. I understand, but at least give us quarterly updates where you're going to be focusing your efforts in the next little while. So I'm going to be very light and easygoing here for the roadmap because at least they have a very clear one. But it's still some timeline would be really good to keep some accountability for the team, not down to the day. But at least give us a quarterly summary of where you're going to be focusing efforts in the next little while. The team, unfortunately, is not doxed. We talked about that already. I give it a 1 out of 10 because of that, but their future plans is to be eventually doxed, which is obviously important. So no choice but to say 1 out of 10 for the team. They could be spectacular. They could be amazing, but we wouldn't know unless they tell us or show us or prove it to us, right? So we have no choice. Socials, again, are we going to wait for this to get a 10 out of 10? Are we going to wait for the socials for them to have 500,000 subscribers? Are we going to wait for them to have, a bunch of Discord members and this and that? Guys, if we start to see them have massive social engagement, the market cap is going to start flying, right? The price is going to start flying. We're getting in at ground level. We have to understand they only have 1,000 followers on X. That's ground level. The account is still very, very young. It's ground level. Risk to reward. Tokenomics, perfect. Fixed supply. We know that there's a fixed supply, but we also have to understand it's fully diluted based on its current total supply. So currently what we're waiting is for more coins to be minted. And this is very important because although it has a fixed supply, its total supply, there's only 302,000 in circulation. And based on its current circulation, it's basically diluted. It's almost all of them are in out in the market in circulation from the total supply. So it's about time that we start, understanding that the fixed supply is going to start being more and more important, because as more tokens get generated, we're going to get closer to that fixed supply. And guess what? There's no risk of dilution. There's no risk of, because it's fair launch. They're going to be distributed to the market fairly through the reward mechanisms of the mining and the node holders. So perfect stuff there. Nice, slow, emissions over time based on reward structure to the market, not to VCs or anything like that. So it will reach a full circulation in about 12 years. So slow and steady. I say it's a 10 out of 10 for tokenomics in my book. Relationship partnerships, 2 out of 10. No partnerships really declared there. Some relationships are being formed with node providers, which is important, of course, and that's great. They are listed on CoinGecko, and they have more relationships coming in on the pipeline, of course. But this is very entry. Again, there's no major partnerships happening here. Imagine if they start getting in with a lithium or something else somehow, where they could start working together with a big project, whether it be some sort of a mechanism of some sort that they use from another exchange, another layer one, or getting into DePIN, where they're decentralizing some sort of infrastructure that they're making. Who knows what the case is? We want to see where the next steps take, but we know that their current focus is DeFi, and of course that decentralized centralized hybrid exchange. That hybrid exchange is going to be their focus in the next little while. Let's see what kind of relationships they can build from there. And of course, exchange liquidity, there's not much, guys. You're talking about very small exchanges, and that's a bit of an issue and a bit of an opportunity, because again, if you start waiting for Binance or Coinbase to list it, let's say, because that's the end game, that's the actual, of course Coinbase is the end game, but Binance is definitely right there, then it's most likely going to have reached a really large market cap for this cycle. So if we're going to wait for that, I think that's a problem. And then obviously not being real about the current issue, which is there's very little liquidity out there, that's also very important, because if we start running right now, who's to say that these exchanges will have the liquidity to basically give us what we need when we want to cash out? Right? Because, maybe it could be a long-term hold, maybe it can be a cycle hold, but the reality is we want to be liquid. It doesn't matter. We don't have to explain any of our strategies to anybody. It should be liquid, and that's my major concern, especially me as a trader. I like liquidity, so this is definitely a concern, but definitely an opportunity, because it has the potential to get listed on major exchanges. Even MEXC would be great, KuCoin would be great, any one of those exchanges would be great. And guess what's going to happen to the price if those happen, guys? The rating is going to go up, and so will the price. That's the reality. All right, so let's look at some of the coin metrics. You can see the ticker is HOOT. Right now, it's hovering around the $2 mark. It went slightly above it, but it's been pulling back in the last little while. We'll take a look at the charts in a second. Market cap, $630 million, $1,000 market cap. Very, very, very small, ground level type of opportunity. Trading volume is very little. Supply, this is the circulating supply, and you can see that versus the total supply. If you look at the total supply, we're basically now the supply and the total supply it basically is diluted. Now I know the numbers are a little bit off, because in the last little while things have changed, and when I was working on it there was fluctuation. So because it did run up in the last, I would say, 6 hours, it went up 75%, guys. So these numbers might be a tad off, and I'll show you the metric, the actual chart in a second, to show you on what kind of tear it's been on for the last half a day or so. So we do see the supply numbers a bit off, but I explain why. Max supply, again, it's limited. There's not unlimited. It's at 9.95 million tokens in circulation. That's all you're getting, no more than that. Fully diluted, you can see at the current total supply, this is what you're getting. Okay, this is the fully diluted. So it's, in my opinion, the fact that it's pretty much fully diluted at its total is very healthy, because we can now rely on the emissions, the safe and fair emissions of rewards to get the rest of them in circulation. Good stuff overall. My verdict, guys, just a little bit of a rundown for the verdict. It's a fork of Dash, the instant function. Some people that are into a technical, want to know about the technicals. The instant function is ready. It just needs to be activated when more nodes come online. Very small project and very speculative, guys. Very important thing to keep in mind. Okay, like, don't expect everything to be done here. You're getting into an opportunity to see this thing run. The narrative could be a bit oversaturated. The DEX narrative and the centralized exchange narrative. Okay, there's so many of them. Maybe it's not a very shiny new narrative, and that is a bit concerning, of course. But this hybrid concept could definitely pick up. Personally, I'm not crazy about the combination, but again, this is, of course, it's my opinion only. Do your own thing, do your own research, tell me what you think in the comment section below. But personally, I prefer completely decentralized exchanges. Of course, centralized exchanges for me are just an opportunity to use some features and get in and get out, pretty much. Good clarity about pre-mined coins, that was very necessary. I felt like just to be transparent with the community, I'm glad that they offered that to the community. The pre-mined coins, no real issue there. So again, it's a very small amount, so don't worry, but at least the team did the right thing to make it clear. Who with the market cap of 100 million, guys, just hear me out for a second. 100 million is nothing. And we're talking about a project that's not even at $1 million. And if, you know, you can see the fluctuation in price and so on. So they just keep it very, very neutral. If it gets to about 100 million, okay, more or less, we're talking about some major gains. You know, it could get to $300, and 100 million is very, very possible. You can see that it went up 75% in the last 5-6 hours. Guys, you can market small market cap projects can fly, but they can also dump. They increase in volatility. But when the fundamentals are good, and like I said, the core fundamentals, I'm not talking about things that are going to grow alongside the project. I'm talking about, you know, the utility of the token. That's so important. The tokenomics, that's the foundation. And then the roadmap, okay, is good, obviously, but the tokenomics and utility, as long as those are solid, the rest of them we can kind of like work on. We can work towards and eventually grow. And I feel like based on that, I have to put that lens and say, you know, it's pretty decent. You know, for a new up-and-coming exchange, you know, that it could be in a layer 1 offering DeFi solutions, I think that it has a lot to offer. So with that being said, why couldn't it hit at least $300? Now, I know it sounds like a lot for those newcomers that are coming in and saying $300. I get it, but you have to understand it doesn't have a lot of tokens, right? So its current price is $2, and look at its market cap. So don't get hung up on price. Look at the X factor. The fact is it can do at least a 250, 200X. I don't see a reason why not for it to just reach $100 million market cap. So this is very important, guys. I feel like it's a decent project. Feel free to do more research. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and feel free to join my live stream, and we could talk about Hoot and any other project that you're interested live. All right, guys, let's take a look at some price action, because I know you're interested in some price action. Let's take a look at this chart here on Coin Paprika. This was the best chart I was able to find, and ultimately it's been on a tear, but it has pulled back in the last little while. It's hard to keep up with the price action in the last little while, but let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. You can see that ultimately it did get a lot of volume. It went sideways, got a nice floor price for the last little while. We're seeing some nice peaks and valleys, a few moves to the upside with some decent growth. We know that the volume is very low, and it's very, you know, the market cap is so low that it takes nothing to get the price moving like this. So we got to understand that, you know, the peaks and the valleys could still come in. And although it did take off, the question is, could we get in maybe on a back test back down to about $1.30? Guys, it's very, very, very possible. Okay, and that's something that I really want you guys to understand, is that don't rush, right? Don't feel the FOMO when you see projects, you know, flying up, especially with these small market caps. Now, here I'm on the 4-hour. Traditionally, here on the channel, I focus on the daily. And you can see why I'm on the 4-hour, because the daily is not really giving you much. It's just a green lightsaber with a decent sized wick at the current moment. Let's see how the daily candle closes, of course, tonight. But ultimately, this thing is on fire. We got lots of green volume. It's definitely overbought on the MACD. It's overbought on the RSI. If you're using, these are not my typical indicators, but we'll use these today because I couldn't get this on TradingView. But you get my point, right? So this is where we're at. Okay, this is good on the daily. Very high. It's very, very extended, let's call it that way. So in this case, we come down to the 4-hour to get, you know, a possibility, you know, what could be happening. This is a tweezer top, not exactly, almost. It would be nice to see the wick at, you know, pretty at the same level to call it a tweezer top, but it does represent something that may be overbought, and it might be risky to be getting in the current moment. But it doesn't mean that you can't get any skin in the game or start DCAing, because really look at the market cap, look at its phase, look at where we are in the cycle. It's time to take a bit of risk, right? So that's what I would be looking at. Now, obviously, I would love to see some divergence to confirm the rollover. There is none. So in my book, it can continue going up unless we get divergence. Look at the two tops here on the RSI. There's no divergence. There's nothing, not even class B, class C, nothing, not class A, of course. None of this is diverging. So we could be seeing strength to the upside in the next little while. Look at the MACD. EMAs are facing up in the bullish control zone for the last little while. No sign of weakness whatsoever. Look at these EMAs still pushing upwards, showing a lot of strength. So what do we do here, guys? This is a tough call, right? We're talking about a speculative project that has some decent fundamentals, but the price is running. Do we start dabbling in DCA here, DCA here, DCA here? I think that's the best strategy. That's the best strategy. There's no real reason to go all in at the current moment, considering that it could retrace. We got to be real. Bitcoin's not giving us strong reversal signals just yet, right? Bitcoin can still dip down, even down as low as 44K. I know that sounds a bearish target, but why not? Why can't it happen? It would still be bullish grand scheme if you zoom out Bitcoin at 44, getting a nice bounce, and then starting the next leg. It could still be good, and Hootsuite will definitely come down, and so will everything. HootChain, sorry, will definitely come down and get going again. But at the same time, what about if that doesn't happen? What about if Bitcoin starts running altcoin season and all of that? You want to be able to get into some exposure, satisfy the FOMO, buy a few dips, buy a few horizontal levels. And again, back to the horizontals, I'm focusing on a few here as I look at the chart. Let me get my horizontal lines going. I like this level, lots of confluence into this zone. You can see this top and all the cluster supply and demand in here. There's a lack of volume in here. I know, I can see it. We're getting volume this way, no doubt, but really the majority of the volume, the interesting volume, is right into here. Okay, you'll get some volume spike, but nothing in comparison to what we got down here. This is from years of experience of me charting and looking at different charts, right? So let's make this a bit thinner and get another horizontal line. I like this area right here. If we can come down to this zone, hunt a bit of liquidity, get down to this level, it's interesting. And then of course the next level that we got to watch out for is absolute bottoms, because even if it came down here and got some support, you could still DCA, no doubt, but this is the best risk to reward ratio opportunity. And what I'm going to be doing is putting a yellow box into this zone. Let's see if I can find that here, because really this is where the majority of the liquidity is at. And if it does come down to this area, this is where you can get the best price. But again, the market doesn't have to come down there. It is not necessary. The market doesn't promise that it's going to come there and give us that opportunity. This is why DCAing is the best. Now, if we start using Fibonacci, let's see if I can find my Fibonacci, my Fib levels here. Obviously on Paprika, things are a little bit more all over the place, and I don't got my favorites, but I know I have my Fib retracement tool right here. Look, we can go swing low all the way to the absolute low. And let's say this is the absolute high. You can see that even coming down to the golden pocket will take us right into this cluster. Right? It could happen. Golden pocket retracements happen. They're still bullish, guys. It doesn't mean that I'm bearish right here. It's just that the market works in peaks and valleys. That's the reality. So if we get down to the golden pocket, that would be a great zone to start DCing. And then we got down to 786, 886 retracements. Things get hectic. But given the fact that we haven't gotten any confirmations of Bitcoin of a major reversal, I would say that planning for a dip into this zone is not a bad idea. And still, maybe, do you want to buy tops? I don't buy tops personally. I wouldn't be buying right now. Even if I miss out on HootChain, I wouldn't be buying right now. I would be waiting to see what kind of structure. Now, if we build a structure, that's a totally different ballgame, because we can do something like this. Let me get my pen out. Let's see if I can find the pen tool. Is there a pen tool here? I don't see one. Let's see. Okay, let's hypothetically say that we get into a level, a scenario where we start going sideways. There should be a pen tool here, guys. Hold on. I can't find the pen tool right now. Maybe it's not on this version on Paprika or whatever. Here it is. Brush. There we go. The brush. So if we could get into some sort of flag right here, I'm okay with that. Let's do it. Or a structure, inverse head and shoulders, whatever it is, because then we know where to put a stop loss. At this current moment, where are you going to put your stop loss? All the way down here, all the way down here, or all the way down here? Where are you going? That's a huge dip. That's a lot of risk to take at these tops. But if we create a structure right into here, we can put a stop loss. We put a right underneath the structure. We continuation pattern, bull flag. Here we come, right? But what about if we don't and we come down? Then we start looking for horizontal structure again, put a stop loss, boom, up we go again. And that's how the markets work. And if you're going to get into trading and you're going to be taking trades on anything, or buying or accumulating, you want to see structure, because that will reduce your risk instead of trying to catch a falling knife or even buying into the FOMO price action, right? So right now, Hoot is showing a lot of strength, definitely overbought, but I would be looking to build positions once I see the market kind of stabilize and resolve itself, because right now this thing's on a tear, no doubt, definitely looking good. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this deep dive video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setup, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. See you tonight at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.